Collection 1, Facing Fear. Do one thing every day that scares you. Eleanor Roosevelt. Collection 1, Facing Fear. In this collection, you will explore how people experience fear and how fear affects the brain and the body.
Spiders. Spiders really freak me out. Talking in front of people. It's not like something that makes sense. I mean, I know not all spiders are poisonous, but when I see one, I seriously get this feeling like I'm being strangled.
I'm afraid of heights. Like, just talking to you, it's okay. But in a big class or for a play or something, I'm not afraid of anything. I'm really not.
One time, I saw this giant spider on our porch, and I stopped breathing. Sometimes,
I feel so scared I can't even open my mouth. I walk home in the dark. I'll get rid of a mouse.
I'll jump off the high dive. I mean, literally, stop breathing.
Until I pass out. I'm working on it. It helps if I can read something instead of just talk. When we went to that pool with the high dive, my big sister was like, I'm afraid to go up there. But I just walked up the ladder and jumped. Bam.
I pretty much just try to stay away from high places. I don't go on Ferris wheels and stuff like that.
If you're bigger than me, I don't care. I'm not afraid of you. Well, maybe some things. But I'm just like, get out of here, fear. You gotta go.
Performance Task Preview. After reading this collection, you will have the opportunity to complete 2 performance tasks. In one, you will present a response to one of the selections from the collection. In the second, you will write an informative essay about a fear using information found in selections from the collection and your own research. The academic vocabulary that will be needed to understand this story. Study the words and their definitions in the chart below. You will use these words as you discuss and write about the text in this collection. Evident, easily seen or understood, obvious. Factor, someone or something that has an effect on an event, a process, or a situation. Indicate, to point out, also to serve as a sign or symbol of something. Similar, alike in appearance or nature, though not identical, having features that are the same. Specific, concerned with a particular thing, also precise or exact. Please pause this video and write these words in your ELA notebook for this week. A little about the author. Graham Salisbury was born in 1944, and he was born in Pennsylvania but grew up in Hawaii. Growing up with a distant mother and without a father who was killed in World War II, Salisbury lacked guidance. His characters explore choices similar to those he faced, making and keeping friends, and learning honesty and courage. Their struggles, like Salisbury's, also take place in a Hawaiian setting. Among his many writing awards are the Boston Globe Horn Book Award and a School Library Journal Best Book of the Year Award. The Ravine, a short story by Graham Salisbury. Setting a purpose. When you read, pay attention to how a tragic event affects Vinny. Write down any questions you have while reading. When Vinny and 3 others dropped down into the ravine, they entered a jungle thick with tangled trees and rumors of what might have happened to the dead boy's body. The muddy trail was slick, and in places where it had fallen away, flat out dangerous. The cool breeze that swept the Hawaiian hillside pastures above died early in the descent. There were 4 of them: Vinny, his best friend Joe Boy, Mo, who was afraid of nothing, and Joe Boy's Haole girlfriend Starlene, all 15. It was a Tuesday in July, 2 weeks and a day after the boy had drowned. In fact, that's what happened to him. Words we may not be familiar with. Ravine. A ravine is a deep, narrow valley made by running water. Heole. Hule in Hawaii is a white person or non-native Hawaiian. Close read focus.
When Vinny and 3 others dropped down into the ravine, they entered a jungle thick with tangled trees and rumors of what might have happened to the dead boy's body. Kind of scary, huh?
It's really creepy. I get a picture in my mind right away of the characters being in this jungle and what it must feel like to be walking there.
Yeah, the author's giving a lot of visual cues, like dropping down into the ravine and the jungle thick with tangled trees. The way the author is describing the setting so far, it feels really dark and eerie.
I like that he says the jungle is thick with rumors, too.
Yeah, almost as if the jungle is speaking or whispering things.
And it implies people, maybe townspeople, have been talking about what happened, and then the author ends the sentence with the dead boy's body.
And that's a real attention grabber.
And now you really want to know what they're doing there.
And then the muddy trail was slick, and in places where it had fallen away, flat out dangerous. The cool breeze that swept the Hawaiian hillside pastures above died early in the descent.
I like that the writer says Hawaiian hillside here, so now we know the exact setting and we have a definite place.
I think this must be a change of scenery from where they've just come from on higher pasture.
Yes, it really continues to set this ominous mood of where they're going. These kids are definitely in a place where something bad happened.
I like that it says flat out dangerous. It's kind of like we're in the kids' heads, sort of just sets an informal tone for the story.
Yeah, definitely.
And I just said kids, but I'm not sure why I think that.
Well, maybe because it's a boy's body, but then anybody could be investigating a body.
Or maybe it's the sense of danger you get by the way the author describes the character's adventure so far.
I just thought of something else, too. It says the cool breeze died, so you're still thinking about death, even though it's just the breeze that has died.
Yeah, in only 3 sentences, the authors created this whole world with so many suspenseful elements.
Like the danger factor.
Yeah, and the fact that someone has died.
And the body seems to be missing.
Now they're headed down into a ravine, and we don't know where they're going or why.
The author has built up a lot of suspense so far.
Vinny slipped and dropped his towel in the mud. He picked it up and tried to brush it off, but instead smeared the mud spot around until the towel resembled something someone's dog had slept on. "Tsk," he said. Joe Boy, hiking down just behind him, laughed. "Hey, Vinny, just think, that kid walked where you're walking." "Shut up," Vinny said. "You're probably stepping right where his foot was." Vinny moved to the edge of the trail where the ravine fell through a twisted jungle of gnarly trees and underbrush to the stream far below. He could see Starlene and Mo far ahead, their heads bobbing as they walked, both almost down to the pond where the boy had died. "Hey," Joe Boy went on, "maybe you're going to be the one to find his body." "You don't cut it out, Joe Boy. What cry?" Vinny scowled. Sometimes Joe Boy was a big, fat baboose. They slid down the trail. Mud oozed between Vinny's toes. He grabbed at roots and branches to keep him from falling. Mo and Starlene were out of sight now, the trail ahead having cut back. Joe Boy said, "You're going to jump in the water and go down and your hand's going to touch his face, stuck under the rocks." Vinny winced. He didn't want to be here. It was too soon, way too soon. 2 weeks and 1 day. He saw a footprint in the mud and stepped around it. The dead boy had jumped and had never come back up. 4 search and rescue divers hunted for 2 days straight and never found him, not a trace. Gave Vinny the creeps. It didn't make sense. The pond wasn't that big. He wondered why it didn't seem to bother anyone else. Maybe it did. They just didn't want to say. Butchie was the kid's name, only 14. 14. 2 weeks and 1 day ago, he was walking down this trail. Now nobody could find him. The jungle crushed in, reaching over the trail. Vinny brushed leafy branches aside. The roar of the waterfall got louder and louder.